Ryan, we're doing a Dynasty price check on wide receiver Christian Watson from the Green Bay Packers. So I have a trade here, a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10. Christian Watson or the 201 of this year's draft. What are you taking?
This is the one that I've been looking at, like in our show doc. Like I'm kind of like, man, I don't know which side I like the best. Watson's tough because we've seen him be good when he plays, but he's obviously had like an injury-riddled start of his career. And he's on the Packers, surrounded by other receivers, and then we've talked a lot about the Packers game, just in general, like who's it going to be? I don't know. I think it depends on what side of the bed I wake up on, like if I'm taking this or not. I mean, the nice thing is that you probably drafted Watson 2 years ago, probably not too far off from this, a little bit earlier than this, but you probably drafted him 108, 110, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you haven't really lost a whole lot. So I think it's really, you got to do a temperature check on yourself, I guess, to really feel like it. And I guess I should know the answer because I do have Christian Watson in our Dynasty league.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a lot of draft capital. So yeah, I think me specifically in our league, like I would probably just take the 201 and essentially do close to the reroll, is like what you like to call it, which I like that.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I feel like if I have Christian Watson, I don't want to take it, but I'm also fine if I have the 201 sending it for Christian Watson, which doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But it's maybe this, the what if sunk cost fallacy, like, oh, I've seen him be, because I'm kind of like back and forth about Christian Watson. I was never the biggest Christian Watson fan, but you do see flashes and like it does feel like he is the most talented receiver on that team, just with the physical tools that he has.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's going to be the best? No. Like Jaden Reed could be better. Probably not Romeo Doubs, but we know what he's going to get his, probably most likely. Dontavian Wicks, people are really like, and some people are really high on him. And like, is he better than Watson? Like, maybe, I don't know. This is a tough one. Like, it really is. It's a good one. Again, we talked about the 201. What is that in this year's draft? Well, it's probably as good as like a first round in last year's draft, first round pick, because you're going to get maybe the wide receiver 6, which is probably going to be a top 40 pick in the NFL draft, if not higher, or the QB 5, a quarterback that was taken in the late first or early second that goes to a good spot, or the RB1, like you're going to get good value here. So yeah, I don't know if it makes sense, but I feel like, how I laid it out, like, man, I feel like I can get just a little bit more for Watson than just the 201, but also I'm fine with sending the 201 and getting him and taking my shot if I truly believe in him. At least he's going to be on a really good offense. But yeah, the injury stuff, didn't he go to like a specialist for his hamstrings and groin? Like he couldn't figure out why he has this like chronic, soft tissue issue, right?
Yeah, and those being re-aggravated a lot are definitely a cause for concern. It's not like a broken bone or anything like that. These soft tissue things, especially in like repeatedly in the legs and the hamstring specifically, it is a cause for concern for sure. But like you said, like I kind of agree with you. I think he's probably the most talented receiver on an up and coming offense. So it's hard to walk away from that. I definitely like it better in best ball, if that matters.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the dude can score on all parts of the field, and I was actually kind of looking at some of his stats, and it's like, yeah, like just really good in general, I mean, only 28 catches last year for over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. It's like, that's the kind of player he is, but he just needs to stay healthy.
that's what kind of gives me hope for him a little bit of like, even if it is a crowded receiving room, I do think if everyone stays healthy, he's going to be the guy most likely to get 10 touchdowns,
Yeah.
And then if you do that, all right, you can give me just under 1,000 yards and still be okay, still be start worthy.
Right.
So because we've seen it, like you said, last year, you said 5 touchdowns and 28 catches. That comes out to, in terms of the games and stuff, like that comes out to like 9 or 10 for a season, I think. And, his first year, 7 touchdowns, and he missed 3 games, right? So, he has that ability, which definitely makes me more likely to get in. It's a start 10, so like you have to argue. It's not shallow, but it's not deep. So it's like who is going to be more likely, that 201 pick for Christian Watson to be like a start worthy asset, and it really is up in the air, I guess.
It really,
really is. I do have another one. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but Christian Watson and the 201 for Tank Dell. What direction would you go here? This is a Superflex PPR start 11, but it's a 10 team. So it's a little bit shallower than a 12 team start 10.
Yeah. If that's the case, man, that is tough because, I mean, kind of what we just went through. Like, I don't know if his value really changes too much between the two formats.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're valuing Christian Watson right around a high end number 2, so it's basically a high end second round pick. So it's basically 2 second round picks for Christian Watson, 2 second round picks for Tank Dell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would take that. I think I would take the picks. I'm like mixing it up a little bit. Yeah, I would take Christian Watson in the 202 for Tank Dell. Like, I think I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of cashing out on Tank Dell a little bit, but it is tough. But when it comes to Tank Dell, like we've talked about, like, he had size concerns, like, going into the league, meaning, like, not that we had any doubts about his talent, but it was like, dude, the guy's going to get hurt. And he did, but, the injuries.
Accident.
Yeah, I was going to say the injuries weren't related. And, like the blocking, like he was blocking like down at the goal line or something, right? When he broke his leg. Yeah. So it's like, you can't necessarily say that's going to happen again, but it is like kind of a concern for me. So I'd be all right with Watson in the 202.
Yeah. I'm kind of fine. I know it's a shitty answer, but I'm kind of fine either way here. Like, I'm a Tank Dell believer. I kind of liked him, before the draft and everything. And I basically said, if this guy he came in at like 165 or 70 pounds. If this guy is 185 pounds, he would have been a first round pick because his tape was amazing, And then we saw him, like, it not really matter that he was small. He was going off. Like, the dude, you look at his numbers, man, like, you statted out for a 17-game season. We were talking about him along with, like, Puka Nacua, like, in terms, again, we didn't see it the whole season. So 700 yards in 11 games is for like 1,100 yards. But I think like 2 of those games, he basically didn't play. Well, one of them, one, he played like nothing. The game he broke his leg, and then another one he played 35% of the snaps. So if you like take those 2 out, I don't know, it gets a little complicated. But it was pretty monster season he was on pace for, So he's a tie to CJ Stroud. I'd probably lean Tank Dell just because I'm a Dell fan here. And I kind of think to myself, like, what could I get if I package the 201 and Christian Watson? Like, what receiver am I hoping to get?
Right.
Like,
yeah. And I think Tank Dell's a good answer to that. I think it is like really close.
Mm-hmm. Like, if you're telling me I can potentially get like a Michael Pittman or a Drake London for that, then I would take that other side. I just don't think I could get those guys, and I think this range of like Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, T. Higgins is kind of like the most you could get for those two players. So, me being a Dell fan, I kind of just like lean Tank Dell a little bit. But I don't mind either way for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny because like so we were talking I was talking about his size in general. Like he's not like super tiny, like he's definitely on the smaller end. You know, he's 5'10". He's not Cole Beasley small, but it's his weight, you know, which the dude can lift some weights, you know, like he can he can pack on a few pounds. Like I don't know, I'm not an expert on like, you know, like, oh, how much like does his frame make sense to like throw another? I don't think he's going to add another 20 pounds to get up to that 185, but it's like maybe he can add 10. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. I'm like, that'd be something.
Maybe he has.
Yeah, right. And they should weigh him again.
Yeah, they still like everywhere you see him is like listed as like 165, but like he could have put on easily more weight. So yeah, again, the combination of being a Tank Dell fan and like not super high on Christian Watson makes me lean Tank Dell and like, but I'm also fine if you want to cash out and get, again, the 201 is in this year's draft, especially, is a first round pick essentially. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think that is it. We'll finish up there. We'll be continuing to put these out. I think the next person we're going to talk about is Kyron Williams. So watch out for that. Watch the other ones if you haven't. And we will catch you guys in the next video.